Welcome to the Sleep Hours, the only place where cartoons fall asleep before you do. So grab your blanket, tuck in your favorite plushie, and let's get weird. Tonight we journey into the magical world of Gumball and Darwin, to a hidden library that appears only when the clock strikes midnight. Within its walls, stories long forgotten wait quietly for someone to bring them back to life. So snuggle under your blankets, take a slow, deep breath, and let the glow of adventure and imagination guide you into a gentle, cozy dream as our tale begins. The night had settled over Elmore in the quiet way it always did. Streetlights humming faintly, curtains drawn across warm houses, and the gentle hush of the neighborhood preparing for sleep. Most everyone was drifting into dreams by now. Everyone, that is, except for Gumball Watterson. He tossed and turned in his bed. Sheets crumpled around him like they were actively plotting against him. The clock ticked louder with every second, its hands practically mocking him. Darwin, sleeping soundly in the bunk above, snored a soft and rhythmic little tune. It would have been calming if Gumball wasn't wide awake and restless. "Darwin," Gumball whispered. No reply. He poked at the mattress above him with his finger. "Darwin." Still nothing. Finally, he tugged the corner of Darwin's blanket until his brother stirred, blinking groggily. "What is it?" Darwin mumbled, his voice sticky with sleep. "I can't sleep," Gumball announced dramatically, arms thrown wide like it was the end of the world. "The universe has betrayed me. My brain refuses to shut off. I'm doomed to stare at the ceiling until the sun comes up and I become a hollow shell of a cat." Darwin yawned, already half asleep again. "That's kind of your normal state." "Exactly. Which is why I need an adventure," Gumball said, his eyes suddenly gleaming. "Something exciting. Something daring. Something that will make this night unforgettable." Darwin groaned, rolling over. We could not. But it was too late. Gumball had already leapt out of bed, pulling on his sneakers with the energy of someone who had just chugged 3 sodas. "Come on, Darwin, we're sneaking into school tonight." Darwin sat up, horrified. "The school? At night? Gumball, that's like breaking 100 rules at once." "Which makes it the perfect cure for insomnia." Gumball grinned. "Besides, it'll be fun. You and me in the empty halls of Elmore Junior High, wandering like fearless explorers into the unknown." Darwin hesitated. But then, seeing the determined sparkle in Gumball's eyes, he sighed. "Fine. But if we get caught, you're explaining this to Mom." A few sneaky footsteps later, the Watterson brothers found themselves creeping along the shadowy streets of Elmore. The school loomed ahead, tall and silent under the glow of the moon. Normally it was filled with chaos, shouting kids, buzzing lights, Principal Brown's booming voice. But tonight it looked different, almost mysterious. "See?" Gumball whispered as they approached. "It's like the school is inviting us in, begging us to uncover its secrets." "Or begging us to go home," Darwin muttered. The front doors creaked as Gumball pushed them open, the sound echoing through the empty corridors. The brothers froze, waiting to see if anyone had heard. Nothing. Only silence. Inside, the school felt strange. The usual fluorescent glare was gone, replaced by moonlight spilling through tall windows. Dust floated gently in the beams, catching the silvery glow like little fireflies. Their footsteps tapped softly against the linoleum floors, each sound stretching and lingering in the still air. Darwin clutched Gumball's sleeve. "Okay, we saw it. It's spooky. Let's go home now." "No way," Gumball whispered back, his grin widening. "We're just getting started." They tiptoed past lockers, their shadows stretching long and thin against the walls. Every creak of the floor felt louder than it should. Every corner they turned seemed to hide something waiting. And then Just as they passed the science lab, Darwin noticed a glow seeping out from beneath a door. "Gumball," Darwin whispered nervously, pointing. "Do you see that?" Gumball's ears perked up. The light wasn't the cold, bluish shine of moonlight. It was warmer, golden, and it pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. It was coming from the library. Gumball's grin stretched from ear to ear. "Darwin, you know what this means?" Darwin shook his head. "It means," Gumball whispered dramatically, "the library is alive." Darwin's eyes widened. "Nope, nope, nope, nope. That's it. We're leaving. Good night, school. Nice knowing you." But Gumball had already taken off, jogging toward the glowing library doors. "Come on. This is destiny calling." Darwin shuffled nervously after his brother, whispering a constant stream of, "This is a bad idea," and "We're definitely grounded forever." But Gumball was already pressing his paws against the heavy library doors. They creaked open with a low groan, and the brothers were bathed in that strange golden glow. The library didn't look the same. By day it was a dull place filled with textbooks, dusty shelves, and Miss Simeon glaring at anyone who dared to whisper. But tonight it was transformed. The ceiling seemed taller, stretching into shadows that shimmered with floating dust motes like tiny stars. The books on the shelves weren't sitting still. Some shifted slightly, pages fluttering as though they were breathing in their sleep. Others glowed faintly, their covers humming with a soft light. Darwin's jaw dropped. "Oh, okay. I'll admit this is kind of amazing." "Told you," Gumball said proudly, striding inside like an explorer discovering new land. "We've just uncovered the magical heart of the school. This is where all the knowledge and power lives. And now, it's ours." He picked up the nearest book. Its cover was deep blue, and when Gumball opened it, a faint breeze blew through the room. The pages glowed brighter, words lifting off the paper and swirling around them in shimmering ribbons of light. "Whoa," Darwin whispered, reaching out as one of the glowing words floated past his face. Then in an instant, the world shifted. The dusty library floor disappeared. Instead, soft snow crunched beneath their feet. The air was crisp and cold, their breath puffing out in little clouds. All around them, tall pine trees glistened under a sky thick with stars. The book in Gumball's hands had transformed into a lantern, glowing gently and casting a warm circle of light. "Okay," Gumball said, stunned but thrilled. "This is officially the coolest library ever." Darwin hugged himself against the chill. "Gumball, we're inside the book." "Exactly," Gumball grinned. "This is like VR, but way better. No goggles, no lag, just pure magical immersion." He flung his arms wide, spinning in the snow. Darwin looked around nervously. "But if we're inside the story, what happens if we can't get out?" Gumball shrugged. "Then we live here forever, build a cabin, raise snow squirrels, and become legends. Not the worst outcome." As they wandered deeper into the forest, the snow sparkled faintly like glitter scattered across the ground. The trees whispered softly as the wind moved through them, sounding almost like a lullaby. Darwin's fear began to ease, replaced by wonder. "This place is beautiful," Darwin admitted. "It feels calm, right? And this is just one book." Gumball's eyes gleamed with possibility. "Imagine what else is in here. Pirate adventures, space battles, epic monster fights. Or," Darwin interrupted gently, "more places like this? Quiet, safe, peaceful ones?" Gumball rolled his eyes dramatically. Yeah, sure. But come on, there's got to be something exciting here. Let's find it." The brothers walked through the glowing forest, their footsteps muffled by the soft snow. Eventually, the lantern book dimmed, and the snowy trees began to fade away. The golden glow returned, wrapping around them until, whoosh, they were back in the library. Darwin gasped. "We're back!" Gumball held up the book proudly. And that was amazing. But even as he closed it, another book nearby rattled on its shelf, glowing brighter. Its cover shimmered with green vines, as if daring them to open it. Gumball reached out eagerly. Darwin grabbed his arm. "Wait! Shouldn't we, I don't know, stop before something bad happens?" "Darwin," Gumball said seriously, "we just got transported into a magical snow forest. The only bad thing would be if we didn't see what comes next." Darwin sighed. "I knew you were going to say that." With a triumphant grin, Gumball tugged the book free. The vines on its cover twitched and curled, glowing brighter as the pages flipped open. A soft fragrance filled the air, wild flowers, warm earth, a hint of honey. The golden light swirled around them again, lifting them off the ground. Darwin squeaked nervously as they floated upward, the library vanishing beneath their feet. When the light faded, they found themselves standing in a vast meadow under a lavender twilight sky. Fireflies drifted lazily through the air, glowing like tiny stars. The grass swayed gently in the breeze, and far in the distance a river sparkled like liquid silver. Darwin's eyes widened in awe. It's so peaceful." Gumball plucked a glowing firefly from the air, holding it gently in his paw. "And I'm still calling it. This is the best insomnia cure ever." Darwin sat down in the meadow, letting the tall grass brush against his fins. He looked up at the sky, where the colors shifted slowly, like someone was painting the heavens in long, soft strokes. "I feel like I could stay here forever," he whispered. "Exactly." Gumball flopped down beside him, arms stretched out dramatically. "We've discovered the ultimate hack. No more boring nights staring at the ceiling. Just sneak into the library, hop into a book, and boom, instant adventure." Darwin tilted his head thoughtfully. But, what if the books don't want us here?" "What are you talking about?" Gumball snorted. "Books love readers. We're giving them purpose. We're like the chosen ones of storytime." Still, Darwin couldn't shake the feeling that the meadow was watching them. The fireflies hovered closer, circling the brothers with gentle pulses of light. It wasn't threatening, it was soothing, like the meadow itself was tucking them in. But Darwin's stomach still did a nervous flip. Before he could say anything, the silver river in the distance shimmered, its surface rippling even though there was no wind. From across the meadow, a soft hum drifted toward them, low, steady, and comforting, like the tune of a lullaby. "Do you hear that?" Darwin whispered. Gumball sat up, ears twitching. "Yeah, sounds like someone singing." The hum grew louder, guiding them like a trail. Gumball grabbed Darwin's hand and pulled him toward the river. The closer they got, the more vivid everything became. Flowers along the path glowed faintly, opening their petals as if waking up. The fireflies formed a glowing arch overhead, lighting the way. When they reached the riverbank, they froze. Across the water stood a tall, shadowy figure. At first, Darwin thought it was some kind of monster. But then the figure leaned forward, dipping a hand into the water. The river glowed brighter where they touched, sending ripples of golden light across its surface. The figure hummed again, and suddenly the whole meadow seemed to join in, the grass swaying rhythmically, the fireflies blinking in time, even the stars above twinkling softly to the beat. Darwin squeezed Gumball's arm. "Maybe we should go back now." But Gumball's curiosity burned too strong. "No way! That's got to be like the boss of the story, the big magical reveal. We can't leave before we know what's going on." The figure slowly turned toward them. Its face was hidden in shadow, but its eyes glowed faintly. Not scary, but calm, like lanterns in the dark. It raised a hand and pointed at them. Darwin nearly fainted. "It's pointing at us. It knows we're here." Instead of attacking, the figure gently waved, beckoning them closer. Its voice drifted across the water, low, kind, and echoing like it came from everywhere at once. "You shouldn't wander too far from the library," the figure said softly. "Not all stories are meant to be walked through." Gumball blinked. "Wait, you can talk?" The figure chuckled, the sound warm and slow. "Of course. Every story has a voice. Most just wait until someone listens closely enough." Darwin tugged at Gumball's sleeve, whispering, "See? It doesn't want us here." But Gumball, never one to back down from mystery, leaned forward. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head, the glow in its eyes flickering like candlelight. "A keeper of sorts. I make sure the stories stay where they belong, and the dreamers like you don't get lost." Darwin gulped. "Dreamers? But we're not dreaming. We're awake." The figure's smile was almost visible now, soft and knowing. "Are you? Think carefully, little ones. Sometimes the difference between waking and dreaming is thinner than a page." Before Gumball could respond, the meadow began to blur. The fireflies' glow stretched into streaks of light. The river rippled into mist, and the figure faded like ink dissolving in water. In the blink of an eye, the brothers were back in the library, the vine-covered book snapping shut in Gumball's paws. Darwin panted, eyes wide. "Okay? Nope. That's it. We're going home." But Gumball only stared at the book, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Are you kidding? That was incredible. The library is alive, Darwin. It talked to us. How can you want to stop now?" "Because it literally said we shouldn't wander too far," Darwin protested. "Did you not hear the part about getting lost?" "Details, details," Gumball said, waving it off. He walked deeper into the library, eyes scanning the shelves hungrily. "There's a million more stories in here, and we've only scratched the surface." Darwin groaned. "Why do I even follow you?" But of course he followed. The deeper they went into the library, the stranger it felt. The golden glow was no longer coming from one direction. It seemed to seep from everywhere, like the walls and shelves themselves were alive. Some books hummed faintly, while others whispered with soft rustles, as though telling secrets to one another. Darwin shivered. "Why does it feel like the books are watching us?" "Because they probably are," Gumball said cheerfully, brushing his paw across the spines of a row of volumes. "Don't you get it? Every story is awake right now. It's like the library itself is dreaming, and we're inside it." Darwin's eyes darted nervously from shelf to shelf. "That doesn't make me feel better." They reached the center of the library, where the tables had shifted into a perfect circle. In the middle stood a massive book, larger than any they'd seen, resting on a pedestal. Its cover was black, etched with silver patterns that glowed faintly. Unlike the others, it wasn't humming or rattling. It was completely still, as though it were holding its breath. Gumball's jaw dropped. "Oh, jackpot!" Darwin gasped. "Don't you dare!" "Darwin," Gumball said solemnly. "This book is practically begging me to open it." "No, it's not. It's sitting there quietly, minding its own business, which means it definitely does not want you to touch it." But Gumball was already climbing onto the pedestal. He reached out, his paws tingling as they brushed against the cool silver designs. The moment he touched the cover, the glow flared, and the entire library shivered, as though a deep breath had been taken. Darwin squealed, covering his face. "Why, Gumball? Why?" The book cracked open with a heavy thud, and a beam of silver light shot upward, spiraling into the ceiling. The golden glow of the library dimmed, replaced by this colder, sharper light. The air thrummed with energy, the shelves rattling as if the whole building might shake apart. And then, silence. Gumball and Darwin stood frozen, staring into the open pages. At first they appeared blank, but slowly ink began to seep across the parchment, curling into shapes and letters like vines growing. Darwin peeked between his fingers. "What's it doing?" Gumball squinted. "It's writing something." The words glowed silver as they formed. "Those who read me will never be the same." Darwin backed up. "Nope, nope, nope, nope. Close it. Close it right now." But Gumball couldn't move. His eyes widened as more words appeared. "The midnight hour holds truths untold. Choose carefully, wanderer, or be written into the story forever." The pages fluttered, and suddenly the library filled with whispers. They came from every direction, soft but insistent, like the rustling of countless voices, all speaking at once. Some were curious, some amused, some warning. Darwin clutched Gumball's arm. "Gumball, I don't like this." For the first time, even Gumball hesitated. His usual excitement dimmed as he stared at the glowing script. "Okay, maybe this book is a little intense." Before they could decide what to do, the pages flipped violently, sending a gust of wind rushing through the room. The brothers were lifted off their feet, tumbling through the air. Darwin screamed, while Gumball flailed wildly, shouting, "This is awesome!" The silver light swallowed them, and once again, the world shifted. When they landed, it was dark. Not the gentle, glowing dark of the meadow or the snowy forest, but deep, heavy shadows that pressed in from every direction. The ground beneath them felt like polished stone, cold against their paws and fins. Darwin whimpered. "Where are we?" As their eyes adjusted, faint outlines emerged. Towering shelves stretched up into infinity, crammed with books bound in black and silver. The air smelled of ink and old parchment, sharp and heavy. Above them, the ceiling wasn't a ceiling at all. It was an endless sky of swirling words, drifting like constellations. "This, Gumball whispered, eyes wide, "is like the VIP section of the library." "Or the scary section," Darwin muttered, clutching his brother's arm tightly. From the shadows between the shelves, something stirred. A figure stepped forward. Not the glowing, gentle keeper they'd met by the river, but taller, darker. Its form shifted, flickering like ink dripping across a page. Its voice was low, smooth, and echoing. "You've opened the Book of Midnight," Darwin squeaked. "Sorry, total accident. We'll just close it and leave, promise." But the figure's glowing eyes locked onto them. "Once the Book of Midnight is opened, it does not close so easily. Now, you are part of its story." Gumball gulped. Define part. Like honorary members, or the kind where we get snacks and go home?" The figure's smile curved faintly in the dark. "You will see." The library around them shifted again, the shelves stretching and curling like waves, the books trembling as though alive. Darwin's heart raced as he whispered, "Gumball, I think we just made a huge mistake." Gumball, for once, didn't argue. The figure raised a hand, and the silver words in the sky began to swirl faster, circling above like a storm of sentences. Each one whispered fragments of stories, heroes lost, quests unfinished, endings never written. The air thrummed with a power that felt both beautiful and terrifying. Darwin clung to Gumball. "We're trapped, aren't we?" Gumball's mouth was dry, but his eyes still flickered with stubborn determination. "No way. If this is a story, then we just have to figure out the ending. And I'm not about to let some spooky library boss write it for us." The figure's glowing eyes narrowed, but its voice was calm. "Every story needs wanderers. Every tale needs dreamers. Tonight, you belong to the Midnight Library." The shelves rumbled, their spines glowing faintly as though awakening one by one. Pages rustled like 1,000 sighs, and just before the brothers could speak, the ground shifted beneath them, pulling them deeper into the Book of Midnight. The last thing they heard before the golden glow vanished completely was the whisper of countless voices. Turn the page. The world spun like pages flipping too fast, blurring into streaks of silver and black. Gumball clutched Darwin's hand as they tumbled, the voices of the library swirling around them. Some whispered warnings, others chuckled, and a few sang strange lullabies in languages they didn't understand. Finally, with a soft thud, they landed. Darwin groaned, rubbing his head. Ow! Why do magical adventures always involve crashing into the ground? Because it's tradition, Gumball said, sitting up and dusting himself off. His eyes widened. Whoa. They weren't in the library anymore. Instead, they stood on a narrow bridge made of stacked books, stretching out into the distance. On either side, there was no floor, only an endless, starless void, as though they were floating in space. The books beneath their feet glowed faintly with silver script, the words shifting and rewriting themselves with every step. Darwin wobbled nervously, hugging himself. I hate heights. I really hate heights. And this doesn't even have a bottom. Relax, Gumball said, bouncing experimentally. The books beneath him rippled but held firm. See? Totally safe. Probably. Darwin shot him a look. Your definition of safe is broken. Ahead of them, a faint glow pulsed. It wasn't golden this time, but a pale silver blue, like moonlight reflected on water. And with no other direction to go, the brothers started forward, the bridge swaying slightly beneath their steps. Each time they looked down, they saw flickers in the void, shapes that looked like letters, sentences, whole paragraphs, drifting in the darkness like schools of fish. Darwin shivered. Do you think those are stories? Yep, Gumball said confidently. It's like an ocean of unused ideas. Probably all the boring homework assignments that never got written. Darwin almost smiled, but the strangeness of the place kept his voice low. It feels kind of sad, like they're waiting for someone to read them. The brothers pressed on until the bridge widened into a platform made of open books, their pages glowing like tiles. At the center stood a tall lectern, and on it rested a thin black volume. This one was smaller than the giant tome from the pedestal, but it radiated the same sharp energy. Darwin held Gumball's arm tightly. Don't you dare touch that. Gumball grinned. Oh, come on. When has opening mysterious magical books ever gone wrong? Darwin blinked at him. Do you want the list alphabetically or in order of trauma? Before Gumball could retort, the book flipped open on its own. A gust of wind whooshed past, ruffling their fur and fins. Silver letters lifted off the page, swirling together in midair until they formed a glowing doorway. Beyond the doorway shimmered a new world, this one brighter, gentler. Darwin's mouth fell open. It wants us to go through. Then we'd better not keep it waiting, Gumball said, already bounding forward. Wait, no, Darwin cried. But Gumball had already stepped through the glowing frame. With a resigned groan, Darwin followed, bracing himself for whatever came next. They stumbled into a soft, quiet landscape. Rolling hills stretched around them, covered in grass that shimmered faintly like silver thread. Above, the sky glowed a deep indigo, sprinkled with stars that twinkled brighter than any they'd seen at home. A gentle breeze moved through the hills, carrying with it a faint melody like pages turning in rhythm. Darwin's shoulders relaxed. Oh, okay. This one isn't so bad. It's actually kind of pretty. Pretty? Gumball gasped. Darwin, this is epic. We're in like the deluxe version of Storyland. Look at this grass. It sparkles. The sky looks like it's on a high-budget movie set. He threw his arms out dramatically. This is the part where destiny reveals itself. Darwin giggled softly despite himself. You've been watching way too many fantasy trailers? They wandered deeper into the silver hills, the strange melody growing clearer. It wasn't a song exactly, but the rhythm was soothing, like the heartbeat of the world itself. Fireflies, no, not fireflies, but glowing letters floated past them, drifting like little lanterns. Each one shimmered before fading away, as though vanishing back into a book somewhere. Darwin reached out to catch one, but it slipped through his fingers. They feel warm. Warm letters, flying around in magical dreamland. Yep, Gumball said, nodding firmly. This beats TV any day. But as they followed the glowing letters, they noticed something else. Shadows moving in the grass, just out of sight. Darwin froze. Gumball. Did you see that? Yeah, Gumball whispered, his grin shrinking. And for once, I don't think it was my imagination. The shadows darted again, sliding through the silver grass like fish underwater. Gumball squinted, trying to make out shapes. Okay, Darwin, he whispered, crouching slightly. If these are friendly, magical creatures, we smile, wave, and say hello. If they're not, we scream, panic, and probably run into a wall. Darwin gulped. You mean run away? Gumball shook his head. Nope. My legs don't usually listen when I'm scared. Before Darwin could respond, one of the shadows rose from the grass. It shimmered, then solidified into a figure. To their surprise, it wasn't a monster. It looked like a person, made entirely of glowing letters, each line of its body rearranging and rippling like sentences. Its face was blank but kind. And when it opened its mouth, the voice sounded like multiple people speaking at once. Welcome, readers, it said. You stand in the fields of forgotten beginnings. Darwin's jaw dropped. Forgotten beginnings. Yes, the figure said, tilting its head. Here live all the stories that were started but never finished. Characters with no endings. Journeys with no destination. More shadows emerged, resolving into letter beings. They weren't frightening at all. Some were tall, some short, some shaped like animals or even objects. But all of them were made from glowing text, rearranging constantly as though they were still being written. One small figure stepped closer, its body flickering with the faint outline of a cape. Its voice was quiet, hesitant. Are you here to finish us? Darwin's heart squeezed. Oh no, that's so sad. They're like stories that never got told. Gumball frowned, feeling a pang of guilt he didn't quite understand. Well, I guess we could help. He struck a heroic pose. After all, I've always thought of myself as a natural-born story-ender. Darwin raised an eyebrow. You've never finished anything in your life, not even your chores. Gumball ignored him, strutting closer to the figures. So, mysterious letter people, what exactly do you need? The first figure pointed toward the horizon where a faint glow pulsed in the distance. At the heart of this realm lies the Book of Midnight itself. Only by reaching it can unfinished stories find their closure. Darwin frowned. But what happens if they don't? The voices of the beings wavered together like wind through tall grass. Then they fade, forgotten forever. Darwin's eyes watered. That's awful. Gumball, for once, didn't crack a joke. Okay, then. We'll go find this Book of Midnight thing and save you all. Simple hero's journey stuff. Right, Darwin? Darwin blinked at him in surprise. Wait, you're actually serious about this? Of course I am, Gumball said, puffing his chest out. Think about it. If we help these guys, Not only do we get a legendary story to brag about, but we also, save a bunch of glowing people. Win-win. Darwin hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this carefully. No rushing in. Deal, Gumball said cheerfully, already jogging toward the horizon. Gumball, Darwin groaned, running after him. The letter beings followed them to the edge of the hills, where the grass gave way to a wide river. But instead of water, the river flowed with ink, thick, black, and shimmering under the starry sky. Across the river stood a towering archway, its frame built from stacked, ancient-looking tomes. The smaller letter being pointed. Beyond that arch lies the path to the Book of Midnight. Darwin stared at the river nervously. How do we cross without drowning in ink? As if in answer, the ink rippled, and pages rose from beneath the surface, forming stepping stones. Each one fluttered, as though alive, waiting for them to step. Gumball grinned. Oh, this is awesome. Darwin tugged his arm. Or terrifying. What if the pages sink? Then we swim in ink and come out looking like calligraphy legends, Gumball said. Without hesitation, he hopped onto the first page, which wobbled but held. See? Totally fine. Darwin groaned but followed, clutching his arms for balance. One by one, they hopped across the fluttering stepping stones, the ink swirling below them with strange reflections. For a moment, Darwin thought he saw faces in the liquid, unfinished characters gazing up, silently pleading. By the time they reached the other side, Darwin's knees were shaking. That was the scariest game of hopscotch I've ever played. Scariest? Maybe. Coolest? Definitely, Gumball said proudly. The archway loomed above them, its books glowing faintly as if alive. Together, the brothers stepped through, and the world shifted again. The instant they stepped through the archway, the silver hills vanished behind them. In their place stretched a vast hall that seemed to go on forever. It wasn't a normal hallway. It was a labyrinth made of towering shelves, each one filled with books that whispered softly to themselves. The air smelled faintly of ink and old paper, and the floor was polished black stone, reflecting the flickering glow of lanterns that floated midair like fireflies. Some shelves leaned, others twisted like spirals, and overhead the ceiling arched into darkness. Darwin clung close to Gumball. This place, it's huge. We'll never find the Book of Midnight in here. Correction, Gumball said, puffing out his chest. I will find the Book of Midnight in here. You will panic, complain, and then thank me when I save the day. Darwin frowned. Statistically speaking, I'll probably be the one saving you. Details, details. They started walking, their footsteps echoing softly on the black stone. As they passed the shelves, Gumball noticed that the spines of the books weren't labeled with titles but with single words: hope, dream, regret, laughter, goodbye. The words shimmered faintly as if alive. Darwin shivered. I don't like this. It feels like the books are watching us. They're just books, Gumball said, though his voice wasn't quite as confident as usual. Creepy, soul-hungry books. Nothing to worry about. They turned a corner and found themselves at a crossroads. 3 paths, each marked by a floating lantern, glowing a different color: blue, red, and green. Darwin pointed nervously. Which one do we take? Gumball rubbed his chin dramatically. Clearly this is a classic story choice moment. Each path represents a different destiny. Blue is wisdom, red is danger, green is probably some boring, safe route. Darwin rolled his eyes. Or maybe they're just colors. Before they could debate further, a deep rumbling filled the air. From between the shelves emerged a massive figure. It wasn't made of letters like before. This one was built of torn pages, stacked together to form a monstrous body. Ink dripped from its jagged mouth, and its eyes glowed like burning embers. Darwin screamed, "Gumball! That is not a friendly librarian!" Gumball's jaw dropped. "Okay. Wow. That is the coolest nightmare I've ever seen." The creature roared, shaking the shelves. Pages fluttered down like snow, some of them catching fire as they hit the ground. The brothers bolted, sprinting down the nearest path, the blue one. The hallway twisted and turned, the shelves bending unnaturally as if trying to block their way. The creature's footsteps thundered behind them, each one shaking the floor. Darwin panted. "Why do we always end up being chased by something?" "Because it keeps the story interesting," Gumball yelled back. They darted around a corner, nearly crashing into a floating lantern. Suddenly, the shelves closed in, forming a dead end. The monster's roar echoed closer. Darwin's eyes widened in terror. "We're trapped! We're actually trapped!" Gumball's mind raced. He spotted a book lying open on a pedestal against the wall, its pages glowing faintly. Without hesitation, he grabbed it. "Gumball, no!" Darwin cried. But it was too late. Gumball read the first line aloud. "And so the heroes found a door when they needed it most." A golden outline shimmered on the wall behind them. With a loud creak, a hidden door swung open. "Yes!" Gumball shouted, yanking Darwin through. The door slammed shut behind them, just as the monster's inky claws swiped at the space they'd been standing in. They collapsed in a new chamber, gasping for breath. Darwin glared at his brother. "Stop! Touching! Random! Books!" Gumball held up the volume proudly. "Hey! It worked! Admit it, I'm basically a genius." Darwin groaned, burying his face in his fins. "This is how people get cursed, Gumball." The chamber they had entered was different from the labyrinth. The walls here weren't shelves, but smooth stone, carved with shifting words that glowed faintly. In the center stood a pedestal, and upon it rested a silver quill floating in midair. Darwin tilted his head. "What is that?" The air around the quill seemed alive, buzzing faintly like static. Gumball stepped closer, eyes gleaming. "Clearly it's some kind of magical super pen." A voice echoed around them, calm but firm. "Only the worthy may write with the quill of midnight." Darwin froze. "Oh no, this sounds like a test." Gumball's grin widened. "Perfect. I love tests I didn't study for." The silver quill hovered above the pedestal, gleaming as though dipped in moonlight. Words flickered faintly in the air around it, appearing and vanishing before either Gumball or Darwin could read them. Darwin's fins trembled. "Gumball, I don't think we should mess with this. It feels important." Gumball tilted his head. "Darwin, everything here feels important. That book, those shelves, even that monster made of homework shreds. But this," he pointed at the quill dramatically, "this is destiny. Or doom." "Destiny," Gumball insisted, stepping forward. As his paw stretched toward the quill, the air around the pedestal shimmered. From the shifting words on the walls, shapes began to form. 3 glowing figures stepped out, their bodies like the letter beings from before, but more defined, almost human-like. Each one carried a faint glow that matched the lanterns they had seen earlier, blue, red, and green. The blue figure spoke first, its voice calm and wise. "To wield the quill of midnight, one must prove balance of mind." The red figure's voice thundered with fiery intensity. "Strength of heart." The green figure whispered softly, like wind through leaves. "And kindness of spirit." Darwin's mouth fell open. It's like some kind of magical exam." Gumball cracked his knuckles, grinning. "Finally, a test I can't fail by forgetting my homework." The blue figure extended its hand. Suddenly the words on the wall swirled into a riddle. I have no beginning, yet I end. I hold no form, yet I bend. All stories need me, but none can keep me. What am I? Darwin's fins shot up. Ooh, I know this one. It's time. The blue figure bowed slightly, and the riddle dissolved. Gumball blinked. Wait, how did you get that so fast? Darwin shrugged. I pay attention in class sometimes. The red figure stepped forward, slamming a hand against the ground. Fire erupted in a circle around Gumball. The heat wasn't painful, but it pulsed with intensity. Show courage. Gumball gulped, but puffed out his chest. No problem. Courage is my middle name. He stood tall as the flames rose higher, licking at the edges of his fur. For a moment, fear clawed at him, but he thought of Darwin beside him, shaking, worried, but still here. Gumball clenched his fists and yelled into the fire. I'm not afraid. The flames vanished instantly, leaving only the echo of his voice. The red figure nodded with approval. Darwin's jaw dropped. Wow, that was actually kind of heroic, Gumball smirked. Told ya. Natural-born hero. Then the green figure approached Darwin, kneeling so its glowing eyes met his. Kindness of spirit. Show up. Darwin froze. How do I show that? The figure reached into its chest and pulled out something small and trembling. A fragment of a character, half-formed, flickering in and out like static. It looked like a sketch of a creature that had never been finished, its body incomplete. The fragment whimpered softly as though in pain. Darwin's eyes filled with tears. Without hesitation, he cradled it in his fins, whispering softly, It's okay. You're not alone. He wrapped it gently in his arms until the fragment steadied, glowing brighter before it faded peacefully into the air. The green figure smiled faintly, bowing its head. The three figures raised their hands together. Their colors merged, forming a brilliant silver light that swirled into the hovering quill. The pedestal trembled, and the quill floated toward Gumball and Darwin. Darwin stepped back, panicked. No, I don't want it. But the quill hovered between them, glowing brighter. It seemed to wait, expectantly. Gumball reached for it, but to his surprise, Darwin's fins moved at the same time. Their hands met on the quill's shaft, and in that instant, the air around them exploded in silver radiance. The chamber dissolved into blinding light. Words swirled all around them, pages fluttering in a storm. They heard the three voices echo together. You are both chosen. Write the path forward. Then the light collapsed inward. Suddenly, they were standing on another pathway, the quill now glowing in Gumball's paw and Darwin's fin together. Ahead stretched a bridge of words, each step forming as they imagined it. Darwin stared in awe. We're making the story as we walk. Gumball's grin widened. Finally, a world where my imagination actually makes sense. The bridge of words stretched endlessly ahead, forming one glowing step at a time beneath their feet. Each word appeared in silver ink, pulsing like a heartbeat, before solidifying into something they could stand on. Darwin walked carefully, eyes wide. It's like the story is waiting for us to decide what happens next. Gumball hopped from step to step, testing the bridge. Exactly. Which means I can finally invent cool action sequences and not get grounded for it. Watch this. Next step. A heroic leap over lava. The bridge shimmered, but instead shaped into a gentle curve across starlight. Ignoring Gumball's idea, he frowned. Okay, rude. Darwin smiled faintly. Maybe it only listens when it feels right, like it knows the real story. Gumball rolled his eyes, but tightened his grip on the quill. Fine. Then we'll just have to figure out what story it wants us to finish. Ahead, the bridge faded into darkness. A distant glow pulsed like a beacon. The Book of Midnight itself waiting. Together they stepped forward, unaware of the shadowy figure watching from the void below. Its eyes burned red, and its whispers slithered through the air. The quill has chosen, but only one may keep it. The bridge of glowing words carried Gumball and Darwin deeper into the vast expanse, each step appearing just before their feet touched the void. The stars above shimmered brighter now, almost as if they were watching, and the faint hum of turning pages filled the air like a heartbeat. Darwin kept glancing down, clutching the silver quill tightly. "I don't like this, Gumball. It feels like the bridge is alive, like it knows where we're going." "That's the best part," Gumball replied, arms spread wide as if he were balancing on a tightrope. "It's like we're in a video game level, and the ground only spawns when you move forward, which means—" He struck a dramatic pose. "We are officially the protagonists." Darwin muttered, "Yeah, protagonists of our own doom." As they walked, the bridge suddenly branched into two separate paths. The left glowed with soft silver, steady and calm, while the right flickered with red, jagged letters that sparked like broken neon signs. Darwin pointed nervously. I think we're supposed to pick the safe one." Gumball rubbed his chin. "Or, hear me out, the creepy, flickering one could be the shortcut. In every movie, the scariest-looking tunnel always leads to the treasure." Darwin gave him a flat look. "And in every real-life situation, the scariest-looking tunnel leads to pain." Before they could decide, a voice echoed through the void, low, resonant, and carrying the weight of 1,000 unfinished tales. "Both paths lead to the Book of Midnight, but only one will show you truth." The brothers froze. Who said that?" Gumball called, spinning around dramatically. The stars above seemed to shift, swirling into the shape of a giant face. Its features were indistinct, made of glowing text that rearranged constantly. But its eyes, two orbs of molten gold, stayed fixed on them. Darwin squeaked. "Oh no, oh no, oh no, Gumball! That's a giant face in the sky." The face bent closer, its words crackling with ancient power. "I am the keeper of stories, guardian of beginnings, middles, and ends. And you, little ones, carry the quill of midnight." Gumball gasped, puffing his chest proudly. "You hear that, Darwin? We're important. Finally, someone recognizes my natural star power." Darwin whispered, "I think it recognizes the quill, not you." The keeper's eyes narrowed. "That quill can finish what was forgotten, or erase what was written. Its power is dangerous. Do you understand what you hold?" Darwin nodded quickly. "Yes, we do. We'll be super careful." "Totally careful," Gumball added. "Careful-ish," the keeper's voice rumbled. "Then you must prove yourselves worthy. Choose your path wisely." The bridge flickered, the two paths glowing brighter. The safe silver path hummed gently like a lullaby. The jagged red one crackled with sparks, pulsing as though alive. Darwin swallowed hard. "We're picking silver, right? Right?" Gumball tilted his head. "The keeper said both paths lead to the Book of Midnight, which means," he grinned, "we take the red one." "Duh." Darwin's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "What?" "Think about it," Gumball said, waving his arms. "The boring, safe path probably just drops us into a lecture about responsibility or something. The red one? That's where the real adventure happens," Darwin groaned, clutching his face. "Why do I let you make decisions?" Before Darwin could drag him back, Gumball marched boldly onto the red path. The bridge shivered beneath his feet, letters sparking like fireworks. With a whimper, Darwin hurried after him. The moment they stepped onto the red path, the world around them shifted. The stars dimmed, the hum of pages grew louder, and shadows began crawling up from the void. They weren't shapeless this time. They looked like warped versions of the letter beings they had met before, their glowing bodies cracked and dripping with ink. Darwin yelped, clinging to Gumball's arm. "These don't look friendly." "Don't worry," Gumball said, brandishing the quill like a sword. "I've got a pen, and I'm not afraid to use it." The first shadow lunged, its body twisting like smoke. Gumball instinctively slashed the quill through the air, and to his shock, glowing silver words spilled from its tip, forming a barrier. The shadow hissed and dissolved. Darwin gasped. It writes things into reality." Gumball's grin stretched ear to ear. "Oh, ho, ho. Now this is my kind of weapon." But the keeper's voice echoed again, softer now, almost sorrowful. "Be warned. Every word you write takes something from you." The warning hung in the air like thunder, but, of course, Gumball didn't take it seriously. "Every word takes something from me." "That sounds like a challenge," he said, twirling the quill like a sword. Darwin's eyes darted nervously between the quill and the shadow slithering closer. "Gumball, maybe don't use it so recklessly. What if it's, like, cursed or something?" "Cursed, schmurzed," Gumball replied, stepping forward dramatically. "Watch and learn, little brother." Another shadow leapt, its inky claws outstretched. Gumball flicked the quill and shouted, "Banana peel!" Immediately, a glowing yellow peel materialized in front of the creature, and the shadow slipped with a squeal before melting back into the void. Darwin blinked. "Okay, that was actually kind of awesome." "Of course it was," Gumball smirked. "I'm basically a wizard now." But Darwin noticed something odd. Gumball wobbled slightly after writing the word, like he had lost a little strength. His smile was still wide, but there was a faint dullness in his eyes. "Gumball, did you feel that?" Darwin asked cautiously. "Feel what? The power of my genius, the thrill of destiny?" Gumball twirled the quill again, though his hand trembled slightly. "Nope, I feel great." More shadows gathered, circling them with hungry eyes. Darwin tugged on Gumball's sleeve. "Let's just run across the bridge before they—" "Darwin, Darwin, Darwin," Gumball interrupted, holding up a finger. "Why run when we can write?" He scribbled in the air with bold strokes. "Giant pizza shield." A massive, steaming slice of pepperoni pizza appeared, blocking several shadows at once. They hissed as the hot cheese sizzled, melting their inky forms. Gumball burst into laughter. "Behold! Delicious victory!" Darwin, however, noticed that Gumball's hair, well, fur, seemed slightly faded now, like the color had drained a little. His brother's energy was slipping away with each word. "Gumball," Darwin whispered urgently. "I think the keeper meant it literally. Every time you write, it's taking something from you." But Gumball was too busy basking in his own brilliance to notice. He spun around dramatically, quill raised. "Bring on the next wave! I got a whole dictionary of destruction." The keeper's voice rolled over the bridge again, louder this time. "Child, heed the cost. The quill was forged to balance creation with sacrifice. To write one thing is to erase another. Nothing written comes without loss." Darwin clutched the quill hand, trying to pull it down. "Gumball, stop! You're losing energy. Look at yourself." For a moment, Gumball's grin faltered. He glanced at his reflection in the glowing letters beneath their feet and saw it. His usually bright blue fur was slightly dimmer, and his outline flickered faintly like static. His voice wavered. "Okay, maybe I'm like 10% less vibrant. No biggie." Darwin stared at him with wide eyes. "No biggie? You're literally fading." Before Gumball could answer, a massive shadow rose from the void ahead, towering over them. It wasn't like the others. This one had jagged wings made of torn pages and eyes glowing red like burning embers. The keeper's voice whispered low. "The guardian of forgotten tales. It devours what was left unfinished." Darwin squeaked. "Oh, that's just great. A giant shadow monster. Gumball, what do we do?" Gumball gulped. His instincts screamed to write something epic, like laser-eyed robot dinosaur. But Darwin's words lingered in his head. If every word drained him? What if he disappeared completely? The monster let out a screech that shook the bridge, sending chunks of glowing letters tumbling into the void. Darwin clutched Gumball's arm tightly. "Please, don't waste yourself. We need another way." For once, Gumball hesitated. His usual recklessness collided with the flicker of something rare. Doubt. The keeper's voice returned, softer this time. "The quill is not for clever tricks or fleeting games. It was made to finish what others could not, to restore stories left behind, to heal." Darwin looked up at Gumball, his eyes wide with realization. "Maybe that's the answer. Maybe instead of fighting the monster, we have to write its ending." The guardian of forgotten tales loomed, its torn wings beating against the void. With each flap, lost words rained down around them, half-finished sentences, scribbles that dissolved before hitting the bridge. Its roar carried the weight of every story that had been left without an ending. Darwin shivered, but his grip on Gumball's arm grew firm. "We don't have to fight it. We just have to give it closure." Gumball squinted at the monster's glowing chest, where faint, broken words pulsed like a heartbeat. "Closure? What are we supposed to do, hug it?" "No," Darwin said, his voice steadier now. "Write for it. Finish the story I lost." The quill buzzed in Gumball's hand as if agreeing. He glanced at the endless void and then back at his brother. "Okay, fine. But if this thing ends with me getting grounded, I'm blaming you." Darwin managed a nervous laugh. "Deal." The monster reared back, ready to strike. Gumball raised the quill high, then hesitated. What do I even write? Like once upon a time there was a terrifying nightmare monster that lived happily ever after?" Darwin pointed at the broken words glowing on the monster's chest. "Look, it's part of its story. Read it." The words flickered faintly. "A guardian who protected stories, but was forgotten before—" Gumball's eyes widened. "Wait. It wasn't always evil. It used to protect the stories." The guardian lunged, slamming its claw onto the bridge, making letters scatter like glass. Darwin shouted over the noise, "Then write it back to what it was. Give it its ending." Heart racing, Gumball pressed the quill to the air. His hand trembled, but he forced the words out, glowing silver in the dark. And though the guardian was forgotten, its duty was not. It found its place again, watching over every tale that wandered too far. The guardian froze mid-roar. Its jagged form flickered, the torn pages knitting together, its wings reshaped into smooth, unbroken parchment, glowing softly. The red in its eyes dimmed, replaced by a warm amber light. Darwin gasped. "It's changing," Gumball continued, his voice steadier now. "And it was no longer alone. For the stories it guarded, remembered it too." The monster shrank, folding into itself until it became a gentle, robed figure made entirely of words and pages, its eyes kind but weary. The air around it pulsed with calm instead of chaos. The keeper's voice reverberated in awe. "You have done what few could. You restored a forgotten tale." Darwin let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. We actually did it." Gumball swayed on his feet, the quill still glowing in his hand. His fur flickered again, faintly transparent. Darwin caught him before he stumbled. "Hey, you okay?" Yeah, Gumball muttered, though his voice was weak. Just Maybe I overdid the dramatic writing thing. The robed figure, once the terrifying guardian, bowed to them. Its voice was soft, layered with countless whispers. You gave me back my ending. In return, I will guard yours. Darwin blinked. Guard? Ours? Before they could ask what it meant, the figure extended its hand. The bridge shifted, forming a new path ahead. At its end glowed a massive pedestal, where the Book of Midnight awaited, its cover shimmering with runes, its spine taller than Gumball himself. The keeper spoke again. The quill has chosen, but every ending is a choice. Will you write to protect, or will you write to destroy? Darwin's stomach flipped. He glanced nervously at Gumball, who tried to look confident, but was clearly rattled. Define destroy? The keeper's voice echoed like turning pages. To twist stories for selfish desires, to alter them only for your own gain. Such paths bring ruin not just to the tale, but to the writer. Gumball gulped, but his eyes gleamed mischievously. So, you're saying I could write myself into being the most powerful, coolest hero of all time? Darwin groaned. Gumball! The keeper's form tilted its head as though disappointed. Power tempts, but endings are fragile. Be careful, child. The pedestal pulsed brighter, calling them closer. Gumball's fingers twitched around the quill. Okay, fine. No selfish wishes. Probably. Let's just grab the book before I faint or something. Together they started toward the pedestal, unaware that something darker than shadows had slipped free during the Guardian's transformation. In the void behind them, unseen, a ripple of ink stirred. The path to the pedestal stretched endlessly ahead, a river of glowing words flowing beneath their feet. Each step pulsed softly, resonating with the quiet power of countless stories. Gumball clutched the quill, its silver glow now steady and warm, though he could feel its weight in his paw as if it carried the heartbeat of every unfinished tale. Darwin glanced nervously at the swirling letters below. I still don't like how quiet it is. It's too quiet. Gumball grinned, though it was a little shaky. Quiet means we're safe, right? Totally safe. Before Darwin could argue, the path shivered. Letters rose from the floor like sparks, swirling into shapes of the characters from stories long forgotten. Some smiled, others wept silently, and a few whispered their names. Gumball's eyes widened. Whoa. All those stories are, like, alive. Darwin swallowed hard. It's beautiful, and a little creepy. The keeper's voice drifted from above. Every story you pass carries a memory. Every tale holds a piece of the world. They stepped forward cautiously, each word beneath their feet forming in response to their steps, as if the bridge itself were alive. Gumball reached out and touched one of the floating words. It flickered and reshaped itself into a glowing creature, a tiny dragon, barely bigger than Darwin's fin. Hello there, little guy, Gumball whispered. The dragon blinked, then disappeared into the air like smoke. Darwin shivered. It's like the stories are thanking us. Suddenly the quill pulsed in Gumball's paw. Its glow intensified, projecting lines of silver light toward the pedestal ahead. Words lifted into the air, forming letters that spelled out faint instructions. Complete what was left undone. Finish the tale of the world before it unravels. Darwin's eyes widened. We're supposed to finish all these stories? Gumball laughed nervously. Well, that's ambitious. But hey, when has anything in our lives been easy? The shadows that had lingered from the Guardian's defeat flickered at the edges of the void, observing them silently. They didn't move, but their presence carried a subtle pressure, a reminder that unfinished stories were never truly gone. They waited, hungry to be completed or consumed. A sudden surge of wind lifted dozens of pages from the bridge. The letters on them glowed brighter, spelling sentences that floated toward the brothers. Some were snippets of dialogue, others fragments of battles, laughter, or heartbreak. Darwin caught one, reading it aloud softly. And in that moment, the hero realized he could not run from the story he was meant to finish. Gumball's jaw dropped. Whoa, that's like us. They moved cautiously, following the quill's guiding glow. Each step forward seemed to breathe life into the letters around them. The stars above shone brighter, as though the universe itself was watching. Then, without warning, the bridge wavered violently. Words fell like rain, and the void beneath churned with inky shadows that twisted into shapes from the stories they had passed. One shape formed into a twisted knight, another into a broken castle, and yet another into a dragon with tattered wings. Darwin froze. Gumball! They're alive! Yes, Gumball whispered, awe and fear mingling in his voice. And we have to finish them. The quill in his hand pulsed, humming with power as if urging him forward. He looked at Darwin. We can do this. Together. Darwin nodded. Together. They stepped into the first shadow, a fragment of a story left incomplete, and Gumball wrote swiftly, words streaming from the quill like silver ribbons. As he wrote, the fragment twisted, reshaping into a whole coherent figure. A knight lifted his sword, a castle repaired itself. A dragon stretched its wings proudly, glowing with renewed life. The path ahead began to shift as well. More fragments hovered, waiting to be rewritten, waiting for the brothers to give them form. But then, at the far edge of the void, a darker shadow stirred, a mass of inky blackness that didn't shimmer with letters or life. Its form writhed, eyes glowing faint red. It had slipped free during the Guardian's transformation, and it now hovered silently, watching. Darwin shivered. Gumball! That doesn't look like a story waiting to be finished. Gumball's grip on the quill tightened. Yeah, I think that's trouble. The keeper's voice echoed again, low and solemn. Beware the remnants of forgotten tales. Some endings were never meant to be found. The brothers exchanged a glance. Ahead, the path continued to the glowing pedestal of the Book of Midnight. Behind them, the inky shadow moved silently closer. Darwin whispered, We have to keep going, but it's getting dangerous. Gumball nodded, determination flickering through his exhaustion. Then we finish the stories and face whatever that thing is. Nothing's stopping us now. Together they stepped forward, ready to face the final stretch to the Book of Midnight. The pedestal of the Book of Midnight glowed brighter with every step. The quill hummed, silver light spilling across the bridge like liquid. Gumball and Darwin exchanged a glance, exhaustion and determination in equal measure. The inky shadow loomed closer, its red eyes fixed on them, writhing like a mass of forgotten stories angry to be ignored. Darwin swallowed. Gumball! It's coming for us! Gumball gripped the quill tightly, his fur flickering faintly, but his grin returned. Then we write fast, finish the stories, and maybe, just maybe, we survive. As they stepped onto the final stretch of the bridge, the quill pulsed violently, casting silver ribbons of light that danced across the void. The shadow lunged, but the bridge of words responded, forming glowing walls and steps beneath them. The keeper's voice echoed solemnly. The end of one story is the beginning of another. Finish what you must, and the next chapter will await. With a deep breath, Gumball and Darwin pressed forward, ready to face the Book of Midnight and whatever truths it held, together. The pedestal of the Book of Midnight rose before Gumball and Darwin like a mountain of glowing runes. Its cover shimmered with shifting letters, some forming words, others twisting into shapes that seemed almost alive. The quill in Gumball's paw pulsed in harmony with the book, vibrating like a heartbeat. Darwin swallowed hard, his eyes wide. This is it. The Book of Midnight. The stories we've been chasing, the Guardian, all of it. It's all here. Gumball took a deep breath, trying to ignore the faint tremor in his fur. Yep, and we're about to finish it. All of it. The ultimate story finale. The inky shadow from the void stirred behind them, circling like a predator waiting for a mistake. Its red eyes glowed with hunger, reflecting countless unfinished tales that had been left in despair. Darwin shivered. It's still following us. What do we do? Gumball lifted the quill, its silver glow casting a protective light around them. We write. We finish every story, face the shadow, and, hopefully survive. The quill floated just above the pedestal, as if inviting them to begin. Gumball glanced at Darwin. You ready for this, little brother? Darwin nodded, taking a steadying breath. As ready as I'll ever be. Let's do it. Together. Together, they pressed the quill down. Silver words streamed from its tip, wrapping around the pedestal and spiraling into the air. The Book of Midnight began to hum, pages fluttering like wings. It was as though every unfinished story they had encountered, the Guardian, the shadows, the fragments of forgotten tales, was converging into this one moment. The first words they wrote took shape into a glowing scene. The Guardian, fully restored, soared above the bridge of letters. The shadows that had once threatened them now twisted into shapes of laughter and celebration, their inky forms transformed into vibrant characters finally given endings. Darwin's voice trembled with awe. It's beautiful. All the stories are alive again. Gumball grinned, though fatigue showed in his trembling paws. I can't believe this is real. We're actually finishing the stories. We're heroes. The quill pulsed violently, and a rush of silver light poured from it, forming a protective dome around them. But the inky shadow still lurked, more solid now, its hunger unabated. Gumball clenched the quill, determination flickering in his eyes. We don't stop. We write everything. No hesitation. Darwin followed suit, whispering the words of endings they remembered from each story they had passed. Reconciliations, discoveries, heroic feats, even tiny acts of kindness. Each word flowed from the quill like rivers of light, dissolving the darkness around them. The shadow shrieked, recoiling as its tendrils of ink were rewritten into glowing sentences of joy and resolution. One by one it shrank, the anger fading, until all that remained was a small wisp of forgotten ink. Gumball let out a relieved breath. Phew, that was close. Too close. Darwin nodded, eyes shining. We did it. We finished the stories. Everything. It's complete. The Book of Midnight floated upward, pages spinning gently as if sighing with satisfaction. Its glow softened, radiating warmth and calm. The quill hovered above it, motionless now, but still shimmering faintly, like it was waiting for the next story to be told. The Keeper of Stories appeared beside the pedestal, eyes glowing softly. You are done, more than I expected. You restored endings, healed the forgotten, and faced the cost of creation itself. The quill has chosen well. Gumball grinned, exhausted but triumphant. So, we did good? The Keeper's voice echoed, gentle and kind. More than good, children. You gave life to stories that would have been lost forever, and in doing so, you became a part of the Book of Midnight yourself. Darwin blinked. Wait, what do you mean? The Keeper's form shimmered and dissolved into the surrounding letters. Every ending you wrote is now written into the fabric of this realm. Your courage, your kindness, and your imagination will protect stories for all time. You are the keepers now." Gumball and Darwin exchanged a look, both proud and overwhelmed. The quill hovered above the book, pulsing softly, no longer demanding, only waiting. Darwin whispered, "We really did it." Gumball laughed softly. "Yeah, we really did. And somehow I feel like this is only the beginning." The glow of the Book of Midnight bathed them in gentle light as the bridge of words shimmered one last time. Around them, the countless stories they had saved danced in the air like fireflies, whispering softly, singing lullabies of endings well earned and new beginnings yet to come. The glow of the Book of Midnight wrapped around Gumball and Darwin like a warm blanket. Words floated gently through the air, forming shapes and figures from the stories they had restored. Tiny sparks of light shimmered with laughter, friendship, and quiet moments that had once been forgotten. Darwin looked around, awestruck. "It's like the entire world of stories is alive, and we're standing in the middle of it." Gumball's eyes sparkled. "I mean, this is awesome. Look at all these characters. We literally saved their lives, or at least their endings." The quill pulsed in Gumball's paw again, almost like it was nudging them to explore further. He took a cautious step toward the book. "Okay, now what? Do we just, read it?" A soft voice echoed, calm and serene. "The Book of Midnight is not for reading alone. It is for understanding. Every story is alive because of the choices made within it. The quill reflects the heart of its holder. You may read, but only with intention." Darwin leaned closer to the pedestal. The cover of the book shimmered, runes flowing like water over its surface. As he touched it, he could feel the echoes of the stories they had restored. Some were joyful, some sorrowful, and some carried lessons hidden in their lines. Gumball, grinning, lifted the quill and hovered it over an open page. Words lifted off the paper and spiraled around them, forming soft shapes. A knight bowing to a dragon, a tiny creature hugging its long-lost sibling, a castle rebuilding itself with bricks of light. Darwin whispered, "It's so beautiful. Everything is at peace now." The quill shivered faintly, and Gumball felt a sudden tug in his paw, not forceful but insistent. He realized the book wasn't finished with them yet. It wanted them to add their own story, to leave a mark alongside all the others. Darwin glanced at him nervously. "Gumball, you really want to write our story?" Gumball's grin softened. "Yeah, I think we should. After all, we've been part of this adventure. Shouldn't it have an ending, too?" They began together, the quill floating between them, guided by their combined hands. Words flowed from it like silver ribbons, weaving a tale of courage, friendship, and adventure. The bridge beneath them glimmered in sync with each sentence, the stories around them humming with life and resonant. As they wrote, the inky shadows from before, the remnants of forgotten tale, had disappeared entirely. Each one they had transformed now sang softly, whispering lullabies and gentle encouragement. Even the guardian of forgotten tales appeared nearby, no longer threatening, glowing softly, watching with quiet pride. Darwin added lines about their journey. The midnight labyrinth, the whispers of the keeper, the terrifying shadows, and the joy of restoring every fragment of lost story. Gumball added humor and flair, turning tense moments into bursts of laughter, and giving each scene an energy only he could conjure. The quill pulsed brighter with each stroke, its glow enveloping them. They could feel their own essence, their bravery and their creativity merging with the Book of Midnight. The keeper's voice drifted around them once more. "The final chapter is not just about endings. It is about the lives touched, the lessons learned, and the courage shown. You have honored the stories, and in doing so, you have honored yourselves. The silver ribbons of words settled onto the pages, and the quill finally came to rest above the book. The Book of Midnight shimmered one last time, radiating a calm warmth across the bridge. Every story they had touched glowed in harmony, a quiet symphony of endings well earned. Gumball leaned back, exhausted but smiling. Wow, I didn't think we'd make it. But look at that. Everything's perfect. Darwin's eyes glistened. Yeah, all the stories. Safe and complete. And we're still here. Together. The bridge beneath them shimmered and slowly transformed back into the familiar path they had first stepped onto. The soft hum of pages faded into a gentle lullaby, the words around them twinkling like stars settling into the night sky. Even the keeper's presence seemed to fade, leaving only a whisper of approval, like a breeze brushing past their ears. Darwin yawned softly. I think we deserve a nap after that. Gumball chuckled. Agreed. But first, one last look at all the stories we saved. The pages swirled once more, showing glimpses of the heroes, creatures, and adventures they had encountered. Each story glimmered, safe and whole, a testament to the courage, imagination, and heart of two brothers who had dared to write their way through the night. The glow of the Book of Midnight softened into a warm, silvery light that stretched across the bridge of words. Gumball and Darwin stood side by side, hands still hovering over the quill, feeling its subtle hum as if it were alive. Around them, countless stories twirled gently in the air, each a living memory of adventure, friendship, laughter, and even small moments of sorrow. Darwin leaned closer to Gumball, whispering, "It's amazing. Like the whole world of stories is thanking us." Gumball grinned, though fatigue showed in his trembling paws. "Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we actually did it. All those stories we touched, they're safe." The quill floated between them, shimmering, inviting them to explore the book further. They realized that their journey hadn't just been about saving the Guardian or defeating shadows. It had been about understanding the power of storytelling itself. Each story they had written, restored, or completed had left a tiny mark on them, and now the Book of Midnight held not only the world's stories, but also their courage, their creativity, and their hearts. Darwin reached out and touched a page. The letters shimmered beneath his fingers, forming tiny images of all the characters they had met. The Guardian of Forgotten Tales bowed its glowing form toward them, a silent acknowledgement of their deeds. The quill pulsed softly in response, like a heartbeat in rhythm with theirs. Gumball laughed softly, exhaustion mixing with awe. "You know, I always thought writing stories was boring. Homework and all that, but this is different. This is like being part of the magic itself." Darwin smiled. "Yeah. And the best part is, we didn't just finish stories, we helped them find endings they deserved." The Book of Midnight began to hum, pages flipping gently as if whispering to them. Each story glimmered in the air, turning toward them like living memories. Gumball's eyes sparkled. "It's like they're alive watching us, saying thank you." Darwin nodded, glancing at the silver quill. "And we've earned it. We used it wisely, even when it was hard." Suddenly, a soft wind swirled around them, carrying the faintest whisper of the keeper's voice. "The quill will rest now, for your journey has been honored. You have balanced courage with kindness, imagination with responsibility. Your story, too, is part of the book." Gumball and Darwin exchanged a glance. The realization sank in. They were not just travelers through these stories. They had become part of the living fabric of the Book of Midnight itself. Darwin's fins twitched. Does this mean we'll always be remembered here? The keeper's echo answered, gentle and warm. As long as stories are told, your courage and heart will shine within them. The book never forgets those who write with purpose and care. The bridge beneath their feet shimmered once more. Words floated softly into place, forming a gentle staircase that led back toward the familiar path they had first stepped onto. The inky shadows were gone entirely, replaced by glowing threads of letters and light, humming like a lullaby. Gumball exhaled, smiling despite the exhaustion that weighed on him. Well, I guess this is it. We did everything. Saved all the stories, faced the shadows, and survived. Darwin yawned, his eyes glimmering in the soft silver light. Yeah, and it feels peaceful, like the world is finally right. The quill hovered above the book one last time, glowing faintly, waiting for new stories to come, but no longer demanding their power. Gumball and Darwin stood side by side, shoulders brushing, feeling the quiet magic of the book settling around them like a protective blanket. As the glow of the Book of Midnight wrapped around them, Gumball and Darwin began to feel the gentle pull of the bridge guiding them forward. Each step seemed lighter now, as if the stories they had restored were carrying them, lifting them toward a sense of calm and completion. Darwin looked around in wonder. All the characters, they're still here, aren't they? Just quietly living their endings. Gumball nodded, a soft smile spreading across his face. Yeah, and look at this. He waved toward the pages hovering around them. Each one of them has a happy ending now. The knight, the dragon, even those little creatures we almost forgot. Everything's perfect. The quill floated gently between them, no longer demanding their attention, but instead hovering with quiet dignity, a symbol of the journey they had shared. Gumball reached out and brushed it with his paw. A ripple of silver light flowed through him as though the book itself was acknowledging their courage. Darwin's fins twitched with quiet awe. It's like we're part of the story now, part of the Book of Midnight itself. The keeper's voice drifted softly through the air, a whisper of approval. You have done more than restore endings. You have understood the heart of stories, their power, their fragility, and the care they require. Your journey will live on in every tale you have touched. Gumball let out a relieved breath. Wow, I didn't think it would feel like this. It's peaceful, not scary at all. Darwin nodded. Yeah, like we've earned a calm moment after all that chaos. It's nice to just be here. Around them, the pages and letters shimmered gently, glowing in soft silver light. Figures of characters they had saved walked, ran, and played quietly, their movements filled with the life they had gained. Even the guardian of forgotten tales hovered nearby, smiling gently, no longer a figure of fear, but one of wisdom and guidance. The bridge began to fold itself back into the path they had originally crossed. Words faded into soft sparks, drifting upward like fireflies. Gumball and Darwin stepped forward, feeling the weight of their journey ease with each step. Darwin glanced at the quill one last time. Do you think it'll be okay, resting like this? Gumball smiled softly. Yeah, it's done its job. We finished what it needed, and now it can wait for the next story that comes along. That's its whole purpose. The keeper's voice, now a gentle murmur, whispered, Every ending is a beginning. You have shown the courage, heart, and imagination necessary to guide both. Go forward knowing you have left a legacy in every tale you touched. Darwin exhaled, a quiet yawn escaping him. I think I could fall asleep right here. Gumball chuckled softly. Yeah, Me too. But first, let's look at everything one last time. They paused, taking in the panorama of restored stories. Tiny creatures laughed softly in the air, castles glimmered, knights bowed, dragons soared, all alive in the warm glow of the book. The world felt complete, balanced, and infinitely magical. Gumball's eyes sparkled. You know, maybe this is the best part. Not the battles, not the challenges, but this, seeing it all come together. Darwin smiled, leaning against his brother. Yeah. All the stories are safe. We're safe, and the book, it's at peace. A gentle hum filled the air, a lullaby carried on ribbons of silver light. The bridge had become soft beneath their feet, almost cloud-like, and the warmth of the book settled over them like a comforting blanket. Gumball yawned, brushing his paw over the glowing letters. I think it's time for a proper rest. We earned it. Darwin nodded, snuggling closer. Yeah. One last nap before we go back. Above them, the stars twinkled softly, echoing the quiet glow of the book. Every story whispered its thanks. Every character shivered with delight, and the keeper's presence lingered, serene and approving. Gumball sighed contentedly. Good night, stories. We'll always remember you, Darwin whispered. Good night, Gumball. Good night, Book of Midnight. The glow of the Book of Midnight dimmed to a soft, peaceful shimmer. Gumball and Darwin, side by side, let their eyes drift shut. The warmth of the restored stories wrapping around them like a gentle blanket. The bridge of words faded into a soft, starry path, carrying whispers of laughter, triumph, and quiet joys. Every character they had saved seemed to shimmer in gratitude. Their stories now complete, their endings safe. The keeper's final words echoed softly. Rest now, for you have honored every tale, and every ending you have written will live on forever. Gumball yawned, a contented smile on his face. We did it, Darwin. We really did it. Darwin snuggled closer, eyes heavy with sleep. All the stories. Safe. And so are we. As the stars twinkled above, the two brothers drifted into a calm, deep slumber. The Book of Midnight glowing quietly beside them, ready for the next adventure, while their hearts held the gentle magic of a night where every story found its perfect ending. And now, our adventure in the Midnight Library has come to a peaceful close. Gumball and Darwin rest, surrounded by the stories they have saved, their hearts light and content. Every tale is complete, every ending safe. And as you drift into your own dreams tonight, remember that stories live wherever your imagination wanders. Good night, my dearest dreamers. Sleep softly, and let the magic of these stories carry you gently into a world of calm and wonder.